police officer, can you make someone get off the telephone on a traffic stop? Yes. No. Sometimes. It really depends. So now each state may have their own laws. There may be a statute or case law. I didn't research all 50 states. Not going to. Don't like you that much. But under the federal law, the cases that you would want to pay attention to would be Wilson and Brennan and the way they talk about Terry versus Ohio. And in Brennan and Wilson, we know that the Supreme Court said, look, officers get a lot of latitude when it comes to officer safety, and we're going to let them control the movements of the people inside the car, both drivers and passengers. So if you can control them, get them out of the car, put them in the car, make sure they stay in the car, if you can control their movement for officer safety, then it's not a stretch to say that the courts would allow you to control their movement by telling them to stay off the phone. But you have to be careful, because you are going to have to articulate that it's for officer safety. And I know all the arguments. I'm afraid they'll coordinate to circle around behind me, coordinate to get rid of some evidence that may be somewhere else. They may coordinate an attack, or they could just be trying to get away. I know those are the arguments, but you're going to have to articulate something that would indicate that that's happening. You can't just say, well, yeah, but they could have. You're going to have to show, well, they were talking to someone and they switched languages, language I didn't understand. That was disconcerting for me because I could not determine whether or not that was taking place. Now, the other arguments I've heard is, well, they make guns that are shaped like cell phones, so that could have been a .22. Yep, that they're holding to their head. And I get that. But what if they don't have it? What if it's just hooked up to Bluetooth? Now, the real reason an officer may want people to not be on the phone is because it's disruptive to what they're doing. If a person is continually talking to this other person and totally ignoring the officer while the officer is trying to conduct the traffic stop, then that could be interfering with a government operation, interfering with the traffic stop, whatever your statute is, and that may escalate to that level. What I would say, though, is be very careful, because people are allowed to record officers. And recording doesn't just mean like this. They could have somebody else taking notes. And so you have to remember they can articulate too. What you have to decide is, when is it important, when is it not? If you've pulled over a kid and they're crying, saying, Mom, Dad, I got pulled over, I don't know what to do, what's the harm in letting them talk to a parent? If they say, hey, I've got the babysitter on the line, I need to tell her I'm going to be late. So use good judgment, good common sense, but if they're interfering with the stop, or if you do see it escalating to an officer safety issue, then I think that Brennan and Wilson would be your best bets to argue that you do have the ability to do that. And then, of course, the defense will argue that under the Fourth Amendment you didn't.